can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100,000.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs like the founders of P90X, Atari, people like Jay Steinfeld. Check out his interview. He started Blinds.com in 96 with $3,000, grew it to $200 million, sold it to Home Depot, but not without overcoming a lot of big challenges. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25, which I co-founded with my business partner, John Corcoran. Rise 25's mission is to connect you to your ideal prospects and referral partners. We do it in 3 ways. We help people launch and completely run your podcast, get it distributed across 11 or more different channels so you can just show up, talk, and we do everything else. This is probably the single best thing I've done in my business and my life because I've even made great friends out of it. The second is we do live in-person VIP days and receptions all over the country with top entrepreneurs. Third is we do a done-for-you lead generation service where we manage a consistent outreach to your ideal clients and referral sources. This is not paid traffic, by the way. And Jason, we'll talk about some of those social media channels. Since this requires a lot of humans to do the work, we have limited bandwidth. So if you're interested, go to rise25.com and contact us. This is a long time coming. I'm excited. Today we have Jason Miles, who's founder of Pixie Faire. He started a family business with his wife at the time called Liberty Jane at their kitchen table in 2008. And in 2013, they launched Pixie Faire, which has become the world's largest online marketplace in their niche. The site averages 50 to 60,000 transactions a month. They've had over 2 million of their patterns downloaded. People describe Jason's wife, Cinnamon Miles, as the Vera Wang of the 18-inch crowd. We will talk about what that means and what their business is. In 2014, Jason retired from a 20-year career in nonprofit management to work on the business full-time. So if you think you've been doing something for a long time and you can't change, Jason will say you're wrong. They also started So Powerful, which is a nonprofit organization focused on creating purposeful products at a sewing cooperative in Zambia. It's at sopowerful.org. He has several best-selling books published by McGraw-Hill on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, you name it. He's also one of the most popular e-commerce instructors on Udemy. I think the last time I checked, Jason, there were over 17,000 students. You can check out that stuff and everything at winningonshopify.com. Jason, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here.
Take me back to 2008, the kitchen table. What was going on?
We needed money really badly. That's the short version.
What was the conversation? Well, yeah,
oh,
totally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we were so the setup for our entrepreneurship is, I had a fun nonprofit career. We've basically been doing nonprofit management work for 30 years now. Yeah, 30 years. And now because our own charity for 30. Totally. So it's been my whole life. But we needed money. 2008. We had basically, I had been asked to go down to Silicon Valley and be the area director for a charity, and that I worked for. I mean, so it was just like an internal move, staffing wise. But obviously, it was a family move from Seattle to Silicon Valley. And I said no for about a year, and then my boss kind of kept pestering me. So finally I said yes. We moved down in 2005, right at the housing market bubble. And we used a new product called an endgame loan. No one had ever heard of it. And we were complete idiots, to be honest. And we thought we could use that product for a year or two and refinance. And by the 2007 time period, we were screwed. I mean, we were literally in we had our little kids, we were in school, we were in this community. We weren't trying to be crazy. We weren't even living in a nice area. We weren't trying to be Joe real estate tycoon or anything. We were just trying to do what we thought was the right thing in our life and got totally skewered. And it was our own fault, but we desperately needed money. And so 2007, I had tried everything in my mind to be an entrepreneur before that.
What have you tried? What were you
Well,
trying?
just like I would come up with these stupid ideas that I thought maybe there's an opportunity here.
Yeah. I asked because you hear of Angry Birds or whatever, and that was, I forgot, whatever, they're like thousands game that they actually developed.
Yeah.
You don't hear about the 900 that went bust, right? So anyways, you're going to say funny.
No, I mean, the stupidest one that I always remember is inflatable camping furniture. I had the idea for it, like before it came out, and then it actually came out after that. And I was like,
why inflatable camping furniture?
Because we were camping and I was uncomfortable and thought inflatable camping furniture would be good. But I would do these things in my mind where I had these entrepreneurial visions, but no traction, like never got to implementation.
Yeah. So what else? You had inflatable camping. What else?
All kinds of different ideas related to the kernel in my mind that initially got me going was I heard about a guy who was making $1,000 a day. This was in 1998. And he was and I talked to him. He needed somebody to help him a little bit part-time, and I didn't end up working with him. But the idea he had was to set up a traffic school on a website. And this is 1998. I mean, it's forever ago. And he went to the county.
What was around?
It was AOL and Prodigy, and like email was still like a set of numbers at att.global.net or whatever, So his thing was he went to the Sonoma County Courthouse and asked the traffic judge if he built a website, would the judge refer people to it? So anyway, I met this guy, and that got me thinking, like, oh man, I need something like that. But they were just piddly ideas, And so anyway, we were urgently needing money in 2008, 10 full years later. And my wife, we got our daughters these dolls for Christmas, American Girl doll. And we didn't know about
crazy. Chicago, the store. Have you been to the store in Chicago?
Yeah. Yes, we've been to all the stores. It's insane.
Oh my gosh!
Now you have daughters, right? So you.
Oh yeah, we've been there on multiple occasions.
I see you and your family are in my target audience. You 100%. Are ideal. You're a hot prospect. So my wife was making these clothes because we didn't want to pay for these $40.
I've already referred a bunch of people to your website.
There you go. See,
yeah,
I mean,
totally.
it's amazing. So, but my wife, as it happens, is insanely good at making doll clothes, and her mom worked for a designer in LA, and so my wife's, her name's Cinnamon, she grew up learning to sew at you might call a professional level because her mom worked for she was
it's like if you're LeBron James's son, you're probably going to learn to play basketball,
like that. So Cinnamon could just knock this stuff out. So all these moms started saying, "Where did you get that? Where did you?" And the brownie uniform matches my daughter's uniforms, and so
viral.
Cinnamon was like, "I just made it. I can show you how to make it." And everybody was like, "I don't know how to sew." So then finally, she started making this stuff and selling it. We started on eBay, and I was, my career was marketing for nonprofits and fundraising. So it wasn't as if I didn't know some of this stuff. It was just always in a nonprofit context. So I was her hype man. I was her marketing guy, and I would help set up the auctions and work on the branding. And we got this.
What year? This was 2009?
This was
2008 still. Okay.
Yeah, this is the winter of 2007 and starting 2008. And we would get her auctions. They would go every Sunday night. We'd end them. And her stuff was going for $200, $300, $400.
Wow.
For clothing. And that's when
this is for doll clothing, though.
Yes. And Vera Wang, in case you're not familiar, is a high-end designer of wedding dresses and clothing and that kind of thing. She's a very famous designer. And so I had written, this is sort of subliminal messaging, I had written in Cinnamon's bio, my dream is to be the Vera Wang of 18-inch doll clothes. So then she started having these customers comment online, "Cinnamon, you are the Vera Wang of 18-inch doll clothes." So we kind of seeded the thought, and then they took it away. So it took off, but it was super fun, and we made $1,000 a month, which was our goal, but it was completely not scalable.
How long would it take to make an outfit, for instance?
So for her to come up with the concept and then make it, it could literally be like, 5 to 20 hours. But then the second time she could make it faster. So we started selling like 8 of 8, 8 copies of one outfit or whatever, and that so they were semi one-off, close to that, and that helped. But she was still sew until midnight. She was burned out. She kind of liked the idea, and we had these people who were fanatical followers. We used YouTube originally and did contests to get a following, and but she was burned out. So that lasted for about 18 months, and then we hit a real burnout mode, which we can talk about if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was the summer of 2000.
So at this point, it's still called Liberty Jane.
Yeah. And so she was basically burned out. And so we just that summer we said, look, let's re-envision what happened. We ultimately lost our house down in the Bay Area. I ultimately took a job back up in Seattle with the charity that I worked for. And so that was sort of like a life deflating like crater. And it was it was gut wrenching. And like those are the points in your life where you feel like a total failure. When my kids were, I remember, I'll never forget my daughter. We were staying in the kitchen of our house down in California, and when we told our kids we were going to move back to Seattle, my daughter was, I think, 8.5 or so at the time, grabbed me around my waist and cried, like sobbing, these big sobbing, crying tears, and said, "Dad, you said we'd never have to move again."
You're like, just when you thought it couldn't get any more painful.
Yeah. That was brutal.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm such a loser. And so then on top of it.
But you guys at the time, you're having traction with this.
We were, but it was like a little baby idea that wasn't big enough to rescue our big mess,
Yeah.
It's like, it was a good idea, but it wasn't powerful financially. And so we moved back to Seattle, and that alleviated the need for our $1,000 a month. But we had something there,
Totally.
And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur anyway, a little bit. And she had these followers, but she didn't have the pressure of making money. And so that summer, 2009, we just re-envisioned like, hey, what could this look like if we redid it in a better way? And we got the idea of selling her designs as PDF downloadable files, sewing patterns. And the nice part about doll-sized clothing is that it is small, so it would fit like on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So you could sell a PDF, people just print it out, and they could use it as a pattern. And as it happens, for most guys who aren't familiar, although you have daughters, so you know the space I'm talking about, but for most guys who aren't familiar with sewing, it's basically the same as guys who are into duck hunting or NASCAR or their muscle car.
I mean, the people are rabid. It's insane. People, are in sewing box clubs. They're in, everything. I had I'm trying to think of the guy. Travis Romine came on and talked, and he had you guys should talk at some point, a company where it was doing, I forgot what it was, like $10,000 a day or something in just these sewing boxes. So
yeah. It's a real niche. I mean, it's a big space. And once you learn what ladies love, they love to hoard fabric and they love to hoard patterns. And so we hit on one of those, which was patterns. And so my wife, the first month, September 2009, we put out 4, and I think 2 of them were free just to build our newsletter list. And then 2 of them were paid. And I think we sold 11 copies, but we had like 300 people sign up for the freebies. So it was like, okay, that's way better than eBay. And so it's literally skyrocketed. So,
what's at the time? So what's included in that? And then now, has it changed on what's included now?
Yeah. So originally it was our own site. We hobbled together this little garbage site. We used a site for photographers, some platform for top photographers. But anyway, so we made a website, and they would get a PDF download of the item. And so we used like a magazine style cover. You can go look to see what these look like at pixiefaire.com.
Yeah.
But so at the time, it was just her designs, and we started selling them. And we hobbled together a shopping cart. We used, I forget even what it was called, some shopping cart that was ridiculous. And so then we got onto WordPress, which was literally 4 years of a pain. And but it started really growing. I mean, we started getting real sales and traction. And by 6 months, it was way exceeding what we had ever done on the eBay side of things. And so we just started crushing it because it was fun for her and it was easy. And then other designers came to us and said, hey, would you sell my designs? And that was sort of the seeds of the bigger idea, the new idea. And so we got to the point where we were selling Cinnamon's brand, which was Liberty Jane, and about 20 other designers.
Got it.
By about 2013. And I was working full time still, and I was like, I got my career, I'm happy, but I'm the nighttime marketer and evenings and weekends marketer. And so, but then we thought, you know what, we need to maybe scale this bigger. We heard about Shopify and really had explored what platform would work best. Because, with WordPress, especially with hosting companies, it's like you can cook up a fantastic Black Friday or Cyber Monday sales strategy. And if literally at 12:05 at night your website crashes and you're asleep, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So it's over. And so Shopify was just literally like, I'm the ultimate Shopify fanboy. And we can talk about how we got into that. But we loved it. It worked. We launched it as Pixie Faire. So it was sort of a marketplace idea where we're basically like sort of Etsy and Craftsy, sort of our competition in a way. But these designers just started signing up to sell through us. It's a royalty deal for them. They get paid on royalty, after we make a sale.
That's great.
And it's scaled. So we've had now well over 2.5 million patterns downloaded through the site. We'll do 60 to 70,000 transactions a month. It's a freemium model, so a lot of those flow through as free, but obviously a lot of them are paid. And then on that site, we basically built several other things. Online courses. So we have, 4 or 5 great courses that are all sewing related.
Like if they want to learn to actually do it, and they maybe aren't as proficient, they can do that.
Exactly. I guess I said three or four. We had 3 or 4 core courses. Now this last year, I think Cinnamon's published like 15 that are smaller courses. So we have a growing collection of online video courses. And then we launched a membership program called Sewing with Cinnamon.
Yeah,
it's really
see that.
Our newest.
How does that work?
Flagship.
It says join the SWC club, SWC member access.
Yeah, it's a monthly recurring membership program. They get some goodies and a free pattern, and it's $14 a month. And so we've got over 1,000 people in that. And these things have just stacked up. And so that's sort of been our journey. And I retired from the 9-to-5 in 2014, January 1st. And now I've really spent a lot more time on writing and speaking and one-on-one coaching. I love coaching and doing
Jason,
courses.
at the time, is that a tough decision to make?
Yeah, it was hard. I was senior VP of marketing, fundraising, and human resources for a university up in Seattle called Northwest University. So my career I started entry-level admin job, and 20 years later I was senior VP. And at a university, a private university, one of the golden handcuffs is your children get free education.
I would never leave.
And it's not just at the university. It's at 100 other member universities in the system that they're part of. And my kids were junior high and early high school. And now they're all in college, by the way. So all I actually pay for right now in our whole life is cars, computers, and college. But anyway, but yeah, it was hard decision. But my commute was brutal. And, it felt like the right time to make a life change. And
I feel like it's hard to make a leap like that too,
Yeah. Yeah, it was, but I was kind of ready for it. So I told my boss a year ahead of time, this is what I want to do. He was super cool about it. I still teach their one class a year. I teach online marketing. And so that's fun. So I'm still connected. My son goes to that university now. He does not get free tuition. I pay. But it's fun. And, so that was my alma mater. I had gone to school there basically myself a long time ago. So, yeah, it was a very hard decision.
Right now, if someone buys something on the site, it's a pattern. Do any of the products include the actual fabric, or what's recommended for that?
No. I mean, the answer is we have literally, I think, 3 SKUs on the site that are physical product. We went through a period of about 2 years where we sold what we call Pixie Packs, which was cut fabric, zippers, buttons,
yes,
Velcro, stuff like that. And what we realized was digital goods is kind of like living your life on heroin or speed or crack. And then
if we've tried that, right?
Don't try any of those, please
right.
don't. But that's what digital goods.
You get
like.
hooked on it, and it's just over. You don't want to. You don't mess with physical goods. Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured you had tried it.
Like an anchor, man. It's like it feels like you're dragging a boat anchor around. So
the evolution of the products, you're sewing them, you're selling them, then you maybe have these packs, but the pattern, and then it's pattern, and now digital pattern. Now it's a marketplace for other people to have their own patterns. This is great. What was the evolution of the team? Because it started you and your wife, right?
Yep. We got insanely lucky. We were blessed. Our first employee, Cinnamon's work is mesmerizing. She's really good at photography, and when she creates something new, it stands out. I mean, so our first sort of kernel of a team member, an idea, was a fashion industry professor from Seattle Pacific University reached out to us and said, I love your work so much, and I'd love to meet for coffee. And we're like, what in the world? So we meet this lady for coffee, and she said, yes, I used to work at Abercrombie & Fitch as a designer, and now I'm in charge of fashion merchandising at the university. And she said, I think you need to meet my friend, Karen. Karen is a longtime designer at Nordstrom here in Seattle. A senior designer, and she retired a year ago from Nordstrom, but she's looking for something to do. And it was like such a weird journey. I was like, why are we meeting with these people? But they're so cool and interesting. I mean, who doesn't want to meet with somebody who used to be a designer for Abercrombie or somebody who's, a designer at Nordstrom? I mean, it's kind of interesting. So we met with Karen, and she just was insanely in love with Cinnamon's design work. And what she said was Cinnamon is basically like a designer who has raw talent that has done it without classical training. And what Karen represented was industry expertise from Nordstrom perspective, which is, the top shelf of, design process. So she was so in love with Cinnamon's work, and she had quit Nordstrom a year earlier because she had health issues and a bad boss situation. And so we're sitting there at Starbucks, and I'm thinking to myself, this lady wants to work for us. But we don't have any employees. We're just us. But she was so glowing about it. And so, I had an HR background, so I could kind of tell when somebody was, wanting a job and stuff. And so she just, kind of made it obvious that she'd love to partner and work with us. So I just put it out there and said, Karen, if there's ever a way we could make you a deal that would be acceptable to you, would you ever consider working for us, part-time or full-time? And she said, absolutely. So we circled back, we hammered out a deal, and our first employee was a senior designer, 13 years experience from Nordstrom. And her and Cinnamon basically went on a 5-year run that was industry changing. I mean, it's not an I am the marketer, but I'm not overhyping it by saying they changed the industry for this funny little niche within a niche of doll clothes publishing, and for seamstresses.
When she came on, what did she do?
So basically, her and Cinnamon are basically it's hilarious. First of all, to have sat with them in a mall, the Big Bell Square Mall here in Seattle is like Nordstrom. It's the anchor store, and there's a lot of coffee shops and stuff. So you sit there. And Karen would be like, hey, that lady's sweater, I designed that. So it was just funny. And so basically her and Cinnamon could go into any store or see any picture of any clothing and say, let's make that for doll size.
Just getting inspiration.
So the inspiration. So Cinnamon basically would say, and so she went on these epic runs where it's like, hey, Harajuku style, that's Japanese street fashion. Let's do a whole run of Harajuku style stuff. And then she would go into these different aspects, red carpet runway dresses. And so they would just see one. Oh yeah, they got that on full lockdown. They could make that for a doll sized. And then they'd make these patterns that people were like, what in the world? This is exactly like real stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was. And so they would partner on it together, and they would make the shapes of the pattern pieces, of course, but then the instructional steps to put it together. And it's not, I mean, there's some obvious skill and talent there to put it all together, and they would do it at a professional level. And Cinnamon learned a ton from her. Karen learned a ton from Cinnamon, and it was a great combo for 5 years. And then Karen went on to work for Tommy Bahama. Now she's a senior designer for Tommy Bahama. So she had a good run with us, but it ended. And yeah,
I want to talk more about the team because you guys have built it out. But what's interesting, what I love, what you guys have done is, it's a marketplace now, and so it really, the community can contribute. I'm curious, has anyone taken it, actually done what your wife did originally, sold them and selling them as far as that goes?
Well, Dior itself, the famous design company Dior, does a whole process called fashion in miniature. That's a famous, it's like art gallery level. They set it up as a art exhibit. And so, and those videos have gone crazy viral of the Dior couture, the shop that you work in a fashion context like that is called an atelier. So the shop that they work in, the videos from their work, people just geek out over. And so Dior did it, and other people basically have used. There's been a whole industry actually of 15 to 20-year-old girls young ladies who have basically created stop motion movies with the clothing that my wife has made and other people make from her work, and they've blown up huge. So, but no one's exactly done just the straight pure design. I mean,
not even the design, but actually just taking the design, making it, and selling it.
Yeah, the challenge is, there are a couple of people who do it, not with contemporary design. The only thing that, like what you're describing, is there's one lady who does historical gowns, and she'll sell hers for $1,500 to $2,500 in that range.
With the smaller version for the dolls.
Yeah, doll size, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But that's handwork, and it takes a month or something like that to make it. So, $1,500 there's not really a lot of money there. So the question is, what's your, monetization strategy beyond that? That's why a company like Dior can do it, because it's sort of a PR influencer strategy for them, and, social strategy for them. And then obviously they sell their, brands. But,
yeah. What other team members have allowed you to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think we've brought in social media person, customer support person. That we have 100 designers on the site now that are publishing with us. So there's somebody who does that exclusively, just partners with them, gets them onboarded, and all that. And then it's a bunch of contractors and the typical photography, and our photographer that we work with, that she's a contractor for us, but we're her primary client. She was featured in the New York Times yesterday.
Wow.
That movie Marwen, I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't yet, no.
The movie Marwen is, of course, I'm not going to remember his Steve Carell. Yeah. He's in that movie, and it's a Hollywood blockbuster movie. It's all about this guy who gets injured in a street fight or something, and he was a famous illustrator, and he turns, because he's mentally impaired, he creates a whole universe with dolls, and he shoots them, photography wise, and his movie is like a real life version of actually what some people do, like Sydney, our photographer, she'll go in New York, on the street and put dolls on the sidewalk and take photos. So, she was mentioned yesterday in the New York Times. And so that's kind of fun, stuff like that. So we have people who, we've tried to, and I'm not saying we've done it well, but we strive to find people who are exceptional. And honestly, you might think we do that well. I feel like it's one of our weakest areas, and we want to do it better. But the truth is somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? So.
I want to get to talking about winning on Shopify.com, and
Yeah.
to kind of bridge that from what you're doing with Pixie Faire to that, we talked about the evolution of the team a little bit, the product a little bit. Talk about the infrastructure. You went from, some shopping cart to WordPress, then to Shopify.
Yeah.
What other tools and software do you use to run the business? And then I'd love to talk about, because you have 17,000 students on the Shopify end of things. So,
yeah, well, I would consider us a digital publisher.
Yeah.
And so all the tools related to digital publishing are tools that we would typically use. I mean, we have people who do their work in InDesign or Illustrator, and, we use photo editing tools and Photoshop Elements and all of those types of tools, iMovie, and depending on who we use for video work, they use their own video editing tools. But so, those types of tools. Obviously, for team coordination stuff, we use Slack. Doesn't everybody use Slack? But beyond that, it's not really, there's no magic. There's not a lot of secret sauce. Our social media person used Hootsuite. So there aren't any big, huge tools, QuickBooks and GoDaddy bookkeeping. Or
what do you use for email?
MailChimp. We were on Constant Contact for a long time. And then Shopify really prefers MailChimp for integration purposes. And so after a year or so of trying to fudge things together, we decided to just convert to MailChimp, and we've been very happy with them. So we have about 130,000 names on our list now. And so, we're not huge. By a lot of people's standards, that's not big, but by a lot of people's standards, it is. But
yeah,
we're happy with MailChimp.
So Shopify.
Yeah. So what happened was in 2014. So
you weren't busy enough, so you wanted to create this whole other business.
No, I'm a total reluctant hero, for real. Until I was dragged into this shenanigan. What happened was to deliver our products in Shopify, we use an app that's called Sindal, and it's a digital delivery app. And so we're pretty much like their biggest client. But they wrote an article about us on the Shopify blog. And so the Shopify blog had this article come out about us. It was an interview with me. I mean, it was just like this. It was like 10 questions though. And so it was entitled, and it came out in 2014. It was entitled "How One Couple Was Making $600,000 a Year Selling Digital Goods on Shopify." And what happened was Shopify was getting super hot, and they had that article installed in their marketing funnel, for new onboarding. So that article, and they rank their articles. So their article was at the top, that article, for years, until like last year. It was one of the top articles. And so I would always sort of every 2 months, I would check the comments, like, oh, what are people saying? And, a lot of it was like BS. No one can there's no money in digital products, like, stuff like that. And I would be like, hi, it's Jason. Here's what we do. And I was always trying to just be kind of defending myself, but and I realized the title of the headline could have been "How One Company Has Sales of $600,000," not "How One Couple Is Making $600,000." But I didn't write the title. So I would always say that's our top line revenue, blah, blah, blah. But finally I was like, you know what? Screw it, man. I should just make my own course on Shopify rather than constantly promoting that, helping them with their, answering questions. So Udemy was coming up. So I partnered with somebody else. I made a course on Shopify. And at the time, Udemy was kind of becoming a thing. This is like 3 years ago now. And that course installed itself as the best course on Udemy for e-commerce. And so I've spent a ton of time in the last 3 years helping students. And, you buy that course when it's on sale for $10. So it's not like it's I'm not trying to
it's a steal,
be crazy or anything. Yeah. And so I answer questions all the time. Every day I'm answering questions. And it just grown from there. So that turned into my own one-on-one coaching. I built a funnel around it, basically. One-on-one coaching. I have a membership program, and I have a good time with it. It's fun. So,
and people can check all that out. That's on winningionshopify.com.
You can see links to all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a lot of research I did, which you talk a lot about social media, so I want to get into that. But for Shopify aspects, What are some big mistakes that people make on Shopify or not using components of the e-commerce platform?
Yeah, biggest mistake is, so Shopify is a fantastic enabler of a good business. But, the biggest mistake is a lot of the students I hear is like, oh, I want to do a print-on-demand t-shirt business on Shopify. I'm like, well, you're not going to make any money. Like, you better have a better plan than that. Or like, oh, I've got a product I like on Alibaba. I'm gonna do Shopify, or oh, I'm gonna do drop shipping on Shopify. Well, all of those are horrible business models. So step one, it's brutal sometimes. Sometimes these people are so emotionally invested in these bad ideas, and I have to talk them down from the ledge. And a lot of times, it's sort of my job to say, hey, here's the margin on a business model like that. And so then it's like they'll either take that or they won't. And if they take it, then I brainstorm with them how they could get better product ideas and business ideas. But if they're stuck in their ways, then I'll say, good luck. Feel free to take my course. But it's, you'll have a Shopify site. You won't have a business. And so that's really like the biggest challenge. And I feel their pain because remember, in my own story, for 10 long years, I had my own ridiculous shenanigans. I was
trying
trying
a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's hard to find a good business model. And so Shopify is not a panacea. I mean, it won't solve a bad business model. And regardless of what you hear about hey, I made $1 million drop shipping in the last 12 months using Shopify. I mean, it's just that's like saying having 1 million people go onto a basketball court and shoot 10 shots from half court and one person hits all 10 and they're the one who writes the course about hitting all 10 shots. It's like, no rational person would say that those are good business models after you look into it. It just won't work for most people. And so anyway, long answer.
What do you find does work? What are some of the maybe successful students? What have they been doing? Yeah.
They always have a tribe or following that they have basically figured out how to serve with a unique product. And so, we have tons of students now in our one-on-one coaching and in our membership program that have cracked the code, and they all crack the code in a different way, but it kind of all has the same basic concept, which is go into a niche within a niche, get real small, and get real focused on something you can really geek out over. Don't tell me you're trying to sell, T-shirts. I mean, it's got to be something very niche specific.
Right.
I mean, one of the guys who in our community that's one of the biggest sellers in our community is all chess playing boards and games and training. Another person is monarch butterflies. And you're like, how is that?
What do they do with monarch butterflies?
He created a whole movement called Raise the Migration for saving monarch butterflies. And he sells cages and T-shirts and signs for your yard. And
it's hardcore.
He's like the world's leader, like e-commerce person for monarch butterflies because he's passionate about it. Another person's all about catfishing or fishing. And I could go on and on. But
go on a little bit. I love hearing these ideas. I think it will spark someone. Yeah. What are some other unique products or
Sure. Hand tools for
we're gonna go through all 17,000 right now.
I'll stop at some point. Hand tools for word workers is another person in our community that's just totally destroying it.
For what? What's word workers?
And that's not. Pardon?
What is it? Word workers?
Hand tools and power tools.
Oh, got it.
For woodworkers.
For woodworkers, got it.
Yeah, for people who for guys who are out there building stuff. Personal care products like somebody we worked with in the past created a pumice stone for your feet that is got soap in it, and it's all about caring for your feet. You just have to think to yourself, the world has 8 billion people, and most of them are online, and many more are coming online. And so, it's the classic thing that it's Chris Anderson's book, The Long Tail. If you're new to this whole game and you want to figure out how to find a niche within a niche and go about what is referred to as the long tail product strategies, go get that book, Chris Anderson's The Long Tail. And it was written 10, 12 years ago, and it's still so prescient. I mean, it's just the right way to look at it. And so that's what you want to do, is go into a niche that you can be passionate about. You can find people that are paying money for their hobby, niche, craft, thing, and figure out how to attract them to yourself and your product, and be real, be authentic. Don't try to be a big company. Just be you, and get them a really good product or service.
Jason, is there one that sticks out as one of the strangest things that someone actually came up with and sold?
The strangest thing that they sell. I already mentioned the Tony's Monarch Butterfly biz. I just never knew I couldn't imagine how you could monetize that. But as it happens, he started as a blogger, and his story is that he started with that old blogging tool, SiteCell, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yes.
Years ago, it was like a thing, and well, he started with their methodology. They have a very step-by-step methodology, and he started as a blogger, and then he monetized with advertising for a long time. Just Google, ads, and then he got into e-commerce, and that's when we helped him sort out his Shopify and product strategies, and that's when things were. I mean, his thing has taken off for a long time, but he hit a new level with e-commerce, and so that's. When you think about that, you think, well, good grief, there's a lot of bugs in the world. I mean, there are a lot of angles.
Some of them we don't want to save. Some of them we don't want to save, but yes.
I know, right? But it unlocks the idea in terms of the thinking.
Oh, totally. Someone was telling me about a YouTube channel I'd never heard of. You probably have heard of it, and his name was Wild Coyote or something. Have you heard about this thing?
No.
I guess basically this guy captures things and gets bitten or stung by them, and that's the show. And he talks about the background. So exactly what you're saying. This, I guess, is one of it gets millions and millions of views. So
we have a lady who kind of started after we did on the YouTube side of things. This is an interesting story like that. I interviewed her for my book, YouTube Marketing Power, and her brand is called My Froggy Stuff, and all she did was made short videos making things for her daughter's Barbie doll out of it was almost like MacGyver level stuff. Like, okay, here's a bottle cap and some glitter, and I'm going to make, this thing for the doll. But what she makes is actually like, what? It really looks like the real stuff. And at the time, we were like, this is cool. She's got some traction. She's kind of as big as we are on YouTube, and we like 20,000 subscribers. So, that's not nothing, but like 3 million video views. Well, last time I looked, she had like 150 million video views.
Wow.
I think she has over 1 million subscribers or some crazy thing. She's done deals now with Disney and Mattel, all the big companies. And it's just this simple idea. And so anyway, there's tons of stories like that. Yeah. But back to your original question, it's all about finding a real need for a group of people that you can identify, and then serving them passionately with content, with physical product if it makes sense, and being a hero, a champion for them, and making them the hero,
Yeah.
I think is the gist.
Yeah,
of
I found this. It's called Brave Wilderness. They have like 12 million subscribers, and this guy's like getting stung by all these different things.
Yeah.
Crazy. So one of the biggest questions I'm sure the students ask, which I've heard you talk about, is traffic.
Yeah.
Right? What do I do? Where do I get traffic? You've written obviously a bunch of books on, and your views and what you talk about on Pinterest I found fascinating.
Oh, sure.
So
okay.
talk about traffic for a second, then I want to talk about, I know you have a book, Instagram book, Pinterest book, YouTube. What do you tell people about traffic? Yeah.
Yeah, as context, just so people know, and not to brag or anything like that, but just to set the stage for the conversation. If you go to myip.ms and you look at the hosting company Shopify, because all the Shopify sites are hosted by Shopify servers, you can rank order them by worldwide site traffic. And as it happens, there's about 650,000 Shopify sites, and mine is in, depending on the day, it'll be in the top 500 to 2,000.
Wow.
So that's the volume of worldwide site traffic we have. So I do think, I mean, if that's my only credential, then there you go. But so I'm passionate about traffic. So yeah, Pinterest is of interest. So let me just start the conversation by saying, if you want to get traffic to your website, you have to know where traffic comes from around the internet. So that's the first question is, where does all the traffic come from? Well, there's actually, if you look at specific sites that document these things, you can find the 4 top sources of traffic on the internet. And they are Google organic search, direct typing of the URL. So Google organic search, everybody knows what that is. So that's organic search engine results pages. You get to that by having content on your site that Google's indexed and crawled that they serve up. So that's SEO, that's content, marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first thing. The second thing is direct typing of the URL into the browser. So I don't need to Google bestbuy.com. When I want to go there, I just open my Safari browser and type in bestbuy.com in the browser. So that's direct typing. So that, what does that mean? I call that, I think I made this phrase up, but I call that branded browsing. Like I didn't know to go to rise25.com until I was introduced to you. And now if I thought about going back to your site, I would hit rise25.com. That's memorable. It's, so you get that idea. So that's about your branding and getting your brand installed in customers' mind. Okay, so then that's hard to do, but that's branding work. The third one is Facebook. Facebook traditionally at the peak had about 26% of all internet traffic that it drove around the internet. That is declining massively and rapidly.
Why is that?
Because Facebook, a Pew Research study came out last month that said in the prior 12 months, 44% of 18 to 29-year-olds had deleted the Facebook app from their phone. They don't use it.
Yeah,
they're done with
wife
Facebook.
says, my wife's a child psychologist. She says no kids are using Facebook at all. They're just using Instagram.
It's over. Facebook is the equivalent. And by the way, that Pew Research study, you can go look at it, but 26% of all participants in that poll had deleted the Facebook app from their phone in the prior 12 months in the U.S. That is a crater. And so what it means is Facebook is literally in the position, we're probably about the same age. Facebook is in the same position that the Yellow Pages was 15 years ago.
That's hard to believe, right?
Yeah, but it's true because it was still around. It was still effective. Tons of company used it. It was still sort of known as a thing. But it was tired. It was old. It was just on the decline. Facebook is in that slot, whether you want to believe it or not. It's happening, man. And so, yeah. But anyway, all that to say, on the order of who sends traffic where, Facebook is still in the third slot. And then the fourth one, surprisingly, is Pinterest. Mm-hmm. Which, if you look at the charts, and the best people who you could look at for this kind of thing is, who is it? Bitly has research on this, and then there's another site I'll remember in a minute because I'm old and I forgot it. But
Shareaholic or something.
Yes, Shareaholic.
I only know that because you said this when I was doing my research.
So
I did not know that.
You're quoting me. Jason Miles says, "Look at Shareaholic."
That's a quote from you. Yes.
So, but they say Pinterest, and if you look at the charts, it's mesmerizing because Pinterest is on this like slow but steady kind of it's not sexy at this point at all. It's just like this little, quarter by quarter, tiny, uptick. And meanwhile, Facebook, you can just see is like a mountain, falling down the backside. And, the point and so Pinterest has, I think last time I looked, like 6 or 7% of all internet traffic.
That blew my mind when you were talking about that because I don't remember the last time I was on Pinterest.
I know.
At all.
And maybe it'll have its own, decline.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying that means anything. I'm just thinking that's like an untapped resource if people aren't using it.
Yes, totally. I mean, if you're listening to this and the thought of Facebook falling apart scares you and you're a business owner, I would say, and you've never looked into Pinterest seriously, I would say seriously look into Instagram and Pinterest. But Pinterest will drive traffic. Instagram will not do that. If you look at the charts, Instagram drives just a fractional amount of traffic compared to Pinterest. But then the other one, of course, it's highly underutilized as well as LinkedIn for any B2B work or business related consulting, coaching, that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, those are the top 4 sources of traffic. So if you don't have a battle plan for those 4, it's like, what are you doing? Why would you spend a second on Twitter or YouTube if you don't have all 4 of those top ones on full lockdown? And so that's kind of my advice to people, and I get kind of passionate about it. But then I have content. I'm like, hey, here's how you do marketing on Pinterest. Here's how you do, Instagram, blah, 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 like that.
Yeah. So if you haven't like me, been on Pinterest in whatever 7 years, you should probably look into it. I'm going to. What's a couple things someone should be doing on Pinterest? Because I know when you talk about it, what's interesting about it is you say, Pinterest wants you to refer out to other sites, whereas a lot of them kind of want to keep you in their ecosystem, right, which is kind of, if you're selling products or selling something, you want to take them from Pinterest to your site. What are some things people definitely need to be doing on Pinterest?
Yeah, the first thing is to have your own website sorted out so that it's Pinterest friendly. And so that means you have visual content on your site that speaks to what you do. So, and this is obvious for physical product sellers. It's obvious for even digital goods sellers like our site, Pixie Faire. And we got lucky because we had good photography, and Pinterest came along and it totally blew up our site traffic. And we were like, what in the world is this? But other sites have just literally never figured it out. And it can be hard in some niches. Don't deny that at all. But what you want to do is have your site be tuned up so that you've got a lot of images that, if nothing else, have graphics on them that say what you do, who you are, like if you've got any kind of how-to content. A lot of people will have blog articles that'll have how-to content, like 8 ways to do this. Well, they don't have a graphic that says 8 ways to do, they don't even have a graphic that supports the content. So you want to have visual representation of every content piece on your site, either product or content, like for blogs and stuff. And that's a first step. And then you can fuel that fire by actually getting into Pinterest yourself and setting up a basic marketing plan, which is your own Pinterest account, your own boards. Then, you start pinning stuff, to your own boards and really starting to grind out sort of the basics of a Pinterest strategy. You can obviously use advertising in Pinterest now. As well. I've got my original blog that I first got my book deal with, my original book deal, is still there, marketingonpinterest.com. Don't make fun of me because of how ugly it is. But I haven't blogged on that blog site for probably 5 years. But in 2011, I got OCD about all of this and blogged about it and got a book deal with McGraw-Hill. That's ultimately what kind of started my writing efforts. So, yeah.
So, thank you. Thanks for actually just making sure people are aware that it's out there, because people are paying attention to Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and no one's talking about, there probably are people, but not in the people I've been talking to. They're not talking about Pinterest at all. And so there's 2 things I want to talk about. One is Instagram. You have a book and you have one coming out, or if someone's listening to this, maybe it's already out. And then talk about Instagram for a second.
Sure. Yeah. So Instagram Power was the book I wrote in 2013. It was published by McGraw-Hill. It was basically, so I got a book deal with McGraw-Hill for Pinterest Power, and that book did well. And it did well enough that I was like, hey, I'm not dumb. Let me propose some new book ideas to these people. So I proposed YouTube Marketing Power and Instagram Power, and they said yes to both. They're like, hey, let's do both of these books. So Instagram Power I worked on, and it was our reflections on how are we going to use Instagram for our own business. And so I wrote basically I don't know anything about Instagram, but I'm learning. Here are my lessons. Here are my people I'm learning from. It was sort of, I was a reporter in that book. And as it happens, it took off, and it got translated into South Korean language, and it's in Nepal and Bangladesh and India and Australia, and it's on the bookshelves still in Barnes and Nobles, 5 years later. And so the new revised and expanded version is coming out in end of February, early March 2019. And so that's sort of the story on the book. But I would say when I wrote that book, Instagram was sort of in the same category, like stratosphere wise. There was Facebook, and then there was kind of like Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. You know, it was kind of all of the stepsisters, the unloved stepsisters.
If you see me looking over here, by the way, I'm just looking at, I have your social media stuff up on my right-hand screen. Yeah. So it's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm just looking at it because it's fascinating with your YouTube and Instagram stuff.
At Mr. Jason Miles is my Instagram handle, and then you can see at Pixie Faire or at Liberty Jane Clothing on Instagram if you want to see how we do it for Cinnamon's work. And
there's like how to cut out the T-shirt pattern. Liberty Jane Clothing. There's 71,000 views on a YouTube video on YouTube. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So we like this stuff, and so we've done different shenanigans over the years to figure it all out, and so with Instagram. When I wrote the book, it was an also ran. But as it happens, it has become this tour de force, like crazy, like the hot thing. I mean, it's literally now it's the hot thing. And so I'm super excited that the book's coming out in February, revised and expanded. And this time around with my work for this book, I literally just went to like these amazing people, Gary Vee and everybody. I mean, it's all the top people who are talking about Instagram. I just went and took their content and was like, hey, can I interview you? Or hey, can I include this? So it's just really the best of the best.
Comprehensive.
And then the other piece that came out of that I'm super, like, if you want to know kind of where my mind is at, is I devoted 2 full chapters to influencer marketing. And I'm all about really figuring that out for our own businesses now, and I'm super pumped about it. It is the next new wave of crazy cool opportunity for small business owners. Is
it finished right now, or are you still going to be adding to it?
The book is done, and it's in revision mode with McGraw-Hill. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, Instagram, in terms of strategy work, I can just tell you. I mean, if you want to get free resources from me, I'm happy to mention those.
Yeah, you have something that's 5 steps to 5K. Followers?
Yeah, I'm actually literally just this morning, I'm putting the finishing touches on my freebie giveaway, which is 5 steps to 5,000 Instagram followers. And they're not dumbly obvious, stupid things. I mean, I've tried to make some content that is actually not what you would, this will not be, share a picture every day, stupidity level stuff. I've tried to make it nice for business owners so that they can really put their head around the idea. So that's that'll be done by the time people hear this podcast, that'll be out. You can find it on winningonshopify.com. It'll be free resource. It was the genesis of that actually happened. I was at the Growth Conference a week and a half ago in Arizona, and my buddy, who's a multi-million-dollar online seller, he does insurance leads and resells them. He said to me when we were standing in line to go into the conference one morning, hey, I've ignored Instagram. What should I do? How do I do this? And I was like, okay, because he knew I wrote this book about it and I was focused on it. And so then he rattles off like these 6 or 7 great questions. I was like, oh, crap. He's a smart guy. I really have to. So his questions were like, how do I integrate it into my sales funnel? How do I calculate ROI?
Yeah, a little higher level question that a business owner is going to ask.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, Mike, can I write these down and include this in my free giveaway thing? So his questions are the origin story for this little giveaway. But anyway,
cool.
That's out there and available to people. And then the book itself will be out. We will also have resources in the book. We have a whole expansion pack that we're going to use. The site we don't have set up yet, but it'll be winning.online for the expansion pack and courses, training on Instagram. It's not too late. Instagram has been remarkable at adding business tools for small business owners and brand builders that we all need to know how to use. So, I mean, it's time for us to learn this stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you one last question, but I'm going to ask you one question before the last question because I need to this is on my notes. I need to ask you because
that's
you have
2 questions. Okay.
It's exactly 2. I'll just make it sound like it's 1, but it's actually 2. Is contests. You have a lot of interesting ideas and opinions around contests because when we talk about traffic, What's some of the strategy people should be using around contests? I think it's underutilized also.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started our business, as I mentioned, in 2008 with, no list, no traffic, no anything, and selling on eBay. But we knew we needed to draw a crowd. And at the time we used YouTube, and we started doing these design contests. And it totally worked. And then then YouTube changed its algorithm. The tool we used inside YouTube, if people remember back in the day, was a respond to a video with a video feature. And they eliminated that years ago now. But we use that as a entry method for our contests. And so we just love contests. I mean, and that got us, because it worked and it was the first thing, it just always put our mind in the mode of let's have contests. And so for 10 years, we've been trying different things, and we're passionate about contests. We do 2 a week right now on Pixie Faire. And we're in 2019, we're going to retire those 2 and replace them and then do 3 more. So we're going to end up doing 5 contests a week in our e-commerce business. And let me mention why. So if somebody's listening, they're like, why contests? Okay, here's the big idea. Contests are what you might call a transcendent or a meta marketing strategy. So, and here's what I mean by that. Let's say you want to grow an Instagram account. Well, the fastest way you can do that is have a contest, and the entry method, give away a good prize, and the entry method is follow me on Instagram. Well, so then you've just built an Instagram following, and then you've got so now you've got an Instagram following. And if you don't have any, you could talk about, well, how do you promote your contest? And it's so easy, but basically you can set it up, use a site like Wishpond, and then just promote it on Facebook or whatever. But you get the idea. So then you can use that first traction. It's like a virtuous spiral. You use the Instagram following you just had to promote your next contest, and you use that contest to grow your email list. Well, now you've got an email list and an Instagram following. Right. And you rinse and repeat. And so I'm a huge believer in weekly contests or monthly contests. And I teach it to all our students. I show them exactly how to do this. We have a free course, actually, a lot of content on this on winning on Shopify. And so that's the meta marketing strategy. That's why it's so powerful. It's like, if you tell me any traffic related goal, I can show you how a contest fuels that and gets you, it's like primes the pump and gets it really, set up quickly and easily. Most people will just say, oh, you want to build an email list? Okay, do advertising. And most marketers default, especially the gurus, their default go-to trick, I'll help you fit with advertising. Well, advertising sucks a lot of times. You
could lose a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And so I break down the math when I do keynotes about this. I break down the math and I show people how inexpensive it is to get a customer acquisition strategy, like an opt-in, a following, a social engagement. And I break it down by the dollar amounts. I mean, it's literally pennies on the dollar. So contests are huge for that. And influencer marketing, by the way, is another meta strategy, which is why I'm so pumped about it. It's like if somebody wants to teach you, like, here's how you use Instagram ads. That is such a small tactical training. Fine, of course, you should learn that. But that's not big picture marketing. That's not something that's going to revolutionize you and you have ingrained in your mind as a new blueprint for success. Influencer marketing and contests both are. And so that's why I always go on and on about them. I love them.
Yeah. So mistakes in contests, you've run a lot of them. What are some of the, I don't know if it has to do with the prize or frequency or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you mentioned 2 right there that are decent mistakes. One is you do one contest and you're like, well, that didn't work that good, so I guess I'm never going to do that again. So it's smarter to say, hey, I'm going to do contests for 3 months every week, and I'm going to learn how this works, and then I'll quit it if it's not working. So, you got to give it a good college try. But then a lot of times people will screw up either with the prize, like you just have to think through, like, what would your ideal prospect really, really want?
Yeah.
And is it attached in some way to what you're selling? like that's the line of thinking you got to go down, is like, how do I get something that they'll like, but they'll like me because I'm giving it to them, and then they'll want to buy what I have because I've, got them on my list.
It's not something random like, you have these patterns and you're like, I'm going to give you an iPad. Like that doesn't really relate to your product.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, so that's the prize is a biggie to think through. And then a lot of times people just err out on the technical tools. A lot of the times the students we work with will be like, my contest didn't get any signups. And I'll like, where's your contest link? And I'll go to it. And there's no graphic. They don't say what they're doing. The entry methods are broken or they don't work. Like, okay, you have to execute, at a basic level of functionality for your, prospect to know what in the world you're trying to do. And, so.
Yeah, I was talking to someone, they said, I don't make any money with my website. I go to their website, I'm like, because you don't sell anything.
Yeah.
How are you going to make money if you don't sell anything on your site? What were you saying about Wishpond? You mentioned something about Source Wishpond.
Yeah.
What is that?
In our trainings we do, again, I have a whole set of free videos you can watch on winningonshopify.com, but one of them is a list of the contest tools that we like and we use. Wishpond is one. Rafflecopter is another one that we use all the time. There are a whole bunch. Viper. It just depends on what you want to do. But some of them, here's the main line of difference. Some of them have a landing page built into their tool, so you don't have to have your own website. And then some of them are made to be embedded in your website. And so, depending on whether you have your own Shopify site or not, you'll choose a different tool. But Wishpond is one a lot of people like. And so.
First of all, Jason, this has been absolutely fantastic. I want to be the first one to thank you. Even though I said I have one last question, and that was like 30 questions ago. But
did we cover it though?
Everyone should. Yes.
Your last.
No, we didn't. But
bring it on, dude. Unless you're out of time.
But I want to point people towards a couple of your sites first. Sure. So everyone should check out winningонshopify.com. Everyone should check out pixiefaire.com. It's PIXIEFAIRE.com. I mean, the site's beautiful. You could just see the layout, and what you guys have built is an amazing marketplace. So congratulations on that. My last question is about the nonprofit. I just want you to talk a little bit about that, because I mean, you've been doing that for 30 years. But is there anything else on the winningonshopify.com that we should point out before I want you to talk about the nonprofit?
No, I mean, it's obvious, self-explanatory. Just go check it out. If you're into my trainings or following me or whatever, feel free to connect. I do all the programs and coaching stuff is available there. Yeah. The nonprofit work is something that I've dedicated my whole life to nonprofit. My graduate degree is an MBA with an emphasis in international nonprofit management, and it's just been my whole career. In our specific case for the charity that we run, I was in Zambia, which is a country in southern Africa area, and in the capital city of Lusaka. And we had a down day in our schedule. This was when I worked for a different charity. And the person said, well, we don't have anything today, but we really like this local school. It's in this really desperate slum, and we don't fund them with money, but when we can, we give them some products. And we have some blankets we were going to take to them today. If you wanted to go with us, you could. And I was like, sure, of course. So first of all, the place, it's called Ngombe Compound, is catastrophe. I mean, it's
what do you mean? There. Yeah, it's hard for me to picture.
To go there, well, envision 150,000 people. Half of them are under 15. And inside an area that's just a few, a very small area. All dirt roads, all shanty little buildings. And it's a disaster. They're all kids because most of the middle-aged adults have all died of HIV, AIDS, TB, or malaria. Mostly HIV, AIDS. I mean, the AIDS pandemic destroyed that country. And the way it works in a country like that, it's like 13 million people. But like you say, at the 13 million person level, let's say 13% have HIV. But then if you go to the capital city, it goes up a lot. Then if you go into this slum area, the percentage is staggering. So, and it's just a very hard place to go. So generally speaking, what the phrase is very, very few Mzungus, white people, ever go into.
I was going to say, you probably stick out a bit.
Yeah. So, in fact, I've had career missionaries who were in Zambia for 30 years say to me, we've never gone into Ngombe compound. And so we go in and we meet with this teacher lady. Her name's Esther. She's got 475 kids in a partially completed church building.
Oh.
And it is chaos. I mean, it is literally like there's first grade over in this corner, second grade over in that corner. It's all just moms teaching these kids. The moms are marginally literate. And most of the adults in the community are not, they don't read and write. They're not literate. But they sang for us. They danced for us. They made me dance for them. And so here's the critical moment, which started our charity. And half the kids are HIV positive.
Wow.
And 2/3 of the kids are orphans. And they live with their aunties or their grandmas. And so the critical moment was we did the song and dance portion of the program, and then we break up. The kids are in their classes, and we walk over, and they introduce us to the moms of the school. And the moms of the school have made costume jewelry like out of, like just the plastic beads, and they're hanging on nails on this cinder block wall. And they say the moms are trying to raise money so that one day we'll have our own school. And we look at the costume jewelry, and there were a few of us in our group, and in between, between us, we just said, let's buy all the jewelry. Let's buy it all. So, we said to Esther, how much are these a piece? I'm like, $1 a piece, whatever. So we said, we'll take all of it. So it's like $70. They start dancing and doing like this African, and I just broke. And it was this moment of clarity in my life where, and I could go into why, but my own backstory and stuff. But,
yeah, why?
Well, to be blunt, is because my mom raised us as a single mom. My dad took off when I was 9 without a trace. He just disappeared. And I remember my mom struggling so much. I remember my mom figuring out how to find a job. And when you're 9 years old, you're just like, I just wanted to help her.
Right.
So I'm standing there. I'm seeing these moms in this,
It hit deep for you.
It was just like, I'm one of these kids. This is one of my mom. This is my mom.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I got to do something about this. I don't know what. So I just said to that lady after the program, hey, do you have any donors that help you? No. Any local donors from Lusaka? No. And none from America or Canada? No. I said, well, do you have email? She said, yeah, I have an email. And I said, could I email you? And
she has an email.
Yeah. So she had electricity. I mean, it's interesting. And now she has a smartphone. Dude, she's sending me photos, videos from, now we have, so fast forward to today. We have a sewing cooperative that employs 20 moms with great wages, and they make reusable feminine hygiene pads and school uniforms. And we have a soap cooperative, and it employs 4 people, and we're really growing that right now. That's our focus. And they make soap and sell it locally and give it to the kids in the school. And then we have a 10-acre farm, and that employs people, and they make food for the kids for lunches. But anyway, so her and I worked that out, and over the last 10 years, we've just grown and grown and grown. SoPowerful.org is the charity, and it's a passion of ours. And the kernel of the idea is creating jobs for the moms and dads of that community that that empower academic success by what they do. So the school uniforms was our first program, and that empowered the academic success of the kids. They ended up getting a beautiful school building. A miracle happened. And now they've got a beautiful school and sewing cooperative, soap cooperative, a farm. And 10 years later, I look back and I say, this is the most meaningful thing I've ever done. It will be our legacy. And as long as we're around, we're going to be figuring out how to help moms in Zambia and beyond, maybe one day, help improve the lives of their kids. And so that's our passion. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
So are there videos of this or anything like that we can put on the post, maybe?
Sure, of course. Yeah.
For sopowerful.org.
And we've got in the resources section, we've got videos. You can check us out, of course, on Facebook. There's a lot of content on Facebook. You will see a ton of beautiful purses being made. One of the ways in which we got donors involved was in 2014, we made this program called the So Powerful Purse program, where we basically have, and this is, sorry to weave it all, maybe this will weave it all together, I don't know, but basically we went to all of our e-commerce customers and we said, would you do us a favor? Would you make a purse for a girl in Africa? And we didn't know if they would, but it totally turned into this program where the seamstresses from 9 countries around the world right now make these purses. They get shipped to Zambia. The seamstresses in Lusaka make reusable hygiene pads, and then they also make soap. And it's all put together, and it's given to girls in health class. And the girls take a pledge to stay in school all month, even on their period, if they get a purse, because their tradition is they stay home from school when they're on their period because they don't have any product. And so this solves that problem. It gives girls back on average 6 weeks of school a year, and it creates jobs along the way. And so, so that's, you can check all that out on sopowerful.org. And if you're into that kind of thing or you want to learn more about it, for sure, check us out. And our overhead rate last year, by the way, was 1.35%, because basically what we do is Cinnamon and I pay all the bills out of our e-commerce company. And all the donors on the So Powerful side know that. They know that we're the sort of, I guess what you might call, anchor donor. And so that's how it all weaves together. And so we've kind of woven it together into our e-commerce mission. And so our customers on the e-commerce side like us because they know we do that. And the donors on the charity side think we're cool on that side because we're e-commerce people and we're using our business for good. So, yeah.
Everyone check out, it's SEW, sopowerful.org. Jason, thank you. It puts things in perspective in life in general, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
When you hear that, I mean, I'm just hearing it and you actually experienced it, firsthand. So
yeah,
it's
well, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate the chance to share all my crazy stories and experiences. By the way, total side note, Rise 25, I totally want to check out because I need to learn more from you on all of that stuff. And actually, your content on your site and your promo before the podcast both caught my attention.
Cool.
And I totally want to learn more about that. So We'll have to connect. Yeah,
we will connect, and when you're in Chicago, we'll connect too. So
awesome.
Thanks, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Yep, happy to be.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100 grand.